I'll start by saying that I love no-coiners, butt-coiners, altcoiners, and trolls in general. If it weren't for them, I'd basically have nothing to write about. One of the biggest troll insults is that the Bitcoin community is like a cult or religion. Well, I'm not going to disagree, as I have quite a bit of religious fervor when it comes to Bitcoin. So instead, I'm going to make a few videos about religion and Bitcoin. Before we dive into the very deep, complicated and broad world of comparative theology, I'll start by identifying the different religious characters in the Bitcoin space, which will pop up over the next few videos. Every religion has believers that span the gamut of practice, from preachers to parishioners and proselytizers, fundamentalists and fanatics, zealots and casual followers, and everyone else in between. I've identified 7 broad categories of Bitcoin religious characters with some overlap between the categories. They are the apostles and disciples, the fundamentalists, the true believer, the hodler, the preacher, the sufferer, and the casual churchgoer. The apostles are those who once had a direct line with Satoshi himself before he made his ultimate sacrifice, typically the developers. Just like Jesus' apostles documented his teachings in the Bible, the first developers helped Satoshi build out his vision. The disciples came later and continue working towards Satoshi's end goal, the migration from centrally controlled fiat currency to peer-to-peer money. The apostles and disciples have no care for doubters, loud critics and obstructionists, and carry out their work with less appreciation than they deserve for their sacrifice. They proudly take the slings and arrows on the community's behalf. As with other religions, their faith and deeds have literally granted some of them heaven on earth due to the immense riches they have accumulated due to having the opportunity to accumulate tens of thousands of Bitcoin for almost nothing due to the immense leap of faith they needed to take all those years back. The fundamentalist is militantly pro-Bitcoin and militantly anti-everything else. They rail against banksters and corrupt governments and large organizations. They frequently live in crypto. That is, they don't have any bank accounts and get paid in and spend only Bitcoin. When you ask them about the weather, they reply, "Taxation is theft! Audit the Fed! Decentralize everything!" These are people who are on the correct side of history, but very easy to caricature. They fight mercilessly for us on the media front lines in staunch defense of Bitcoin, the majority of them with incredibly well thought out and well articulated arguments. Without the fundies, the community lacks spine and bite. The fundamentalist is a typical trolling target, as they are quite passionate people who are sometimes easy to rile up, not unlike the fundamentalists who subscribe to the world's different religions. The fundamentalist who successfully subdues trolls without getting riled up can be upgraded to saint status in the community, alongside all the social media perks that come with it. The price to pay for sainthood is RSI from all the times you click on mute or block on your Twitter account. Fundamentalists come in all forms, and they may not be a developer or even technically inclined at all. The true believer is the final backstop and actual foundation of the Bitcoin network. The true believer knows in their heart of hearts that Bitcoin will take over the world and that the economic justice that Bitcoin promises to deliver will solve most issues of social justice too. The true believer looks at social justice warriors with embarrassment and shame, as many SJWs have been misled about the fact that every single social issue they're fighting for typically stems from economic injustice and fiat currency. It is possible that a social justice warrior can be converted into a mellower economic justice warrior just by educating them about the global fiat scam and introducing them to Bitcoin. But I digress. Several religions require tithing the church, or making voluntary or obligatory money donations, usually up to 10 to 20% of income in some cases. From Mormons to Muslims, Hindus to Jews, Catholics and Protestants alike, the true believer is never short on donating to their church and in most cases go well beyond all requirements. The true Bitcoin believer also tithes the network by buying Bitcoin with 10% or more of every paycheck. There is an unfortunately small number of true believers among the millions of Bitcoin users and investors. In my study on Bitcoin cost and sustainability, I estimated a Bitcoin user base of over 20 million people. If there were in fact 20 million true believers investing 10% of their wages, or about $77 per week for citizens of OECD countries, $1.5 billion a week would flow into Bitcoin. At a Bitcoin price of about $6,500, about $12 million worth of new Bitcoin is mined every day, or about 82 million US per week. As you can see, if we had 20 million true believers, the Bitcoin price would be at least one order of magnitude higher. Regardless, true believers who have invested modestly but consistently have also been rewarded very greatly for their faith and sacrifice. In the next video, I'll give a quick rundown on the final 4 characters before we dive into the religion of Bitcoin. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget about my 1 million Satoshi giveaway prize for the first 50 entries into this competition, due to be drawn on the 30th of November 2018. Here's the competition instruction video and more links below. From there, you can follow me on YouTube and Twitter to enter and get bonus entries for a whole range of other easy to do things. Good luck, and I'll see you next time.